Hi, I'm professional triathlete and CEO of Dimond Bikes, TJ Tollakson. And today I want to talk about the 5 things that you can do right now, most likely you can do them right now, to make your bike faster. And so when we're talking about bikes faster, obviously I'm talking about triathlon bikes or time trial bikes. But I want to make you faster. Here's how we're going to do it. Step 1, okay, we're going to look at this crank. If you've got one of these cranks already, you're pretty good. There's not a lot you can do other than fill in some of this area right here with some tape. If you've got a regular Shimano crank or a crank that has big holes and gaps in it, there's a lot you can do. If you check out my race photo from a couple weeks ago in Huntington, Indiana, you'll notice that my Shimano 9100P power meter crank was taped with some kind of funny tape, and that's what this is right here. This is 3M 3340 high temp aluminum foil tape, known in NASCAR as speed tape. Okay, so this crank doesn't need a ton of tape. You can use a little bit to smooth out this airfoil off the back of the power meter battery compartment. Otherwise, it's pretty good. If you've got a Shimano crank like I was using, this comes in handy. Cut it into small strips like this. Place it around the outside. The key to cutting this is you can actually indent the tape. So if you want it to match your crank perfectly, you can see what I'm going to do is I'm just going to indent the tape where I want to actually cut. You can see how I made that little circle around there. So you can cut out, make those circles, tape your crank up so there's no holes in it. It's best to have a bulge in it, just like this crank does. A bulge actually makes it a little bit faster than if it's perfectly flat. So that's step 1, tape your crank. And I'll tell you a little bit of the history about that. We didn't think it was going to be any difference at all, and did some wind tunnel testing and found significant difference, around 6 watts difference at 30 miles per hour in the wind tunnel. So taping your crank matters. Paying attention to details, that really matters. Next thing goes along those same lines. So you're probably used to seeing most front wheels, if you have disc brakes, some disc brake through axles look like this too, but this is a quick release skewer. It makes it really easy to take your wheels on and off, but you can see you can replace this skewer with what I have right here. These are viewspeed.com Aero skewers right here, so that's what that is. Alright, so step 1, make your crank Aero, use that 3M high temp aluminum foil tape. Step 2, check out your skewers. Most skewers look like this. If you have a standard quick release skewer front wheel, your skewer probably looks like this. This is a rear skewer, but the front one looks exactly the same. This causes a little excess drag, and then some through axle front skewers actually look very similar. So if you're using this, ditch that, get a set of these. These are viewspeed.com, view-speed.com skewers. They lock into place, they're super aero. The end caps that you have options for here, this is actually dimpled and hollowed out for extra speed. Kind of a cool little invention right there. But I love these little Aero skewers. You can put it on your bike. Again, you're probably only looking at a little less than 1 watt, but when details matter, this is a way you can gain some speed by paying attention to small details, nothing else, and replacing a part. If you get a flat tire, it does take a little more time because you use a bolt. It has a bolt, so you use a hex key to change your wheel. But most of the time you're betting on not flatting, and so the extra 20 or 30 seconds if you do flat is not going to make or break your race. When every second matters, I use the viewspeed.com front skewer. Third thing, we're going to talk about hydration positions. This is a big one on a tri-bike. So right here I have Dave Mortensen's Mogul right here. And you can see there's water bottle bosses right here on the down tube. The most common other places to put one is there's a BTA mount here, or you can use any other standard BTA mount. And the last one is actually right here on the saddle itself. So I like the Profile Design RM10. It fits very nicely inside there. And then you mount your Ritchie saddle clamp on top of this, and it actually bolts into the RM10 adapter. This RM10 is nice because you can run a single cage on this, or you can run double cages. But even a double cage behind your saddle is faster than running a single cage on your down tube. I tell you, Never race with a cage on your down tube unless you absolutely have to. You need that extra cage. So if you're doing Race Across America, some crazy ultra endurance thing, that's nice. I keep a cage there to train with, but I never race with one there. Secondly, go ahead and put your bolts in there when you do race, when you take the cage off, or use that fancy aluminum tape right over them. So that's the hydration side of things. Next, we're going to talk about wheels. I'll say this to just about everybody. If you're going to average at least 20 miles per hour for your race, okay, if you're going to average at least 20 miles per hour for your race, always ride a disc wheel if it's allowed. Okay, I don't really care how windy it is, ride a disc wheel if it's allowed. The exception is obviously Ironman Hawaii. There's a few other races where discs aren't allowed. That's for a reason. Don't run it. If you can ride a disc wheel, do it. Not all discs are created equal. This is a Revolve 321. You can see it's got some nice shape to it. This is the fastest disc wheel I've ever tested in the wind tunnel. There's a couple other that are similar, namely the Aero Coach disc wheel that has a similar shape to this, which I believe to be very fast. Any disc wheel is faster than a spoked wheel though, so it doesn't really matter where you go wrong. If you do not have a disc wheel, use a disc wheel cover. You can use an Aero Coach disc wheel cover or wheelbuilder.com also makes disc wheel covers out of plastic that you can use. Don't have plastic? Well, guess what? You can use your handy dandy speed tape, 3M high temperature tape. You can actually tape your wheel with this in little pieces to make a disc wheel over your back rear wheel. It's strong enough, it's durable enough, it will last. It may not be the prettiest thing, but it is the poor man's disc wheel and it is still really fast. So that's my last tip for you. On the rear wheel, front wheel, spokes matter. Each spoke, and we're talking about a SAPIM CX-Ray bladed front spoke. Each front spoke on your front wheel is 1 gram of drag at 30 miles per hour in the wind tunnel. So fewer spokes. 16 spokes is what I run on my front wheel. That's 8 grams of drag difference compared to a 24 spoke wheel. That's why I run disc brake in the back, rim brake in the front. It's a decent aero advantage there. Last thing we're going to talk about, tires. So what does that mean? Tires really matter. A lot of you guys know my friend Andy Potts raced Kona one year with some gator skins on. It's probably the worst tire choice of any Ironman Pro in the history of Ironman Pro. But we have some really good tires that we can ride. Some of these tires are great for training. Gator skins, awesome to train in, bad to race in. So you can see on my disc wheel right here, I've got a Continental GP 5000, and this is in 23 millimeters. Aero matters at high yaw, especially at high speeds. So a narrow tire gives you an aero advantage at high speeds. Where that comes to bite you is if you're at low speeds, let's say you're around 20 miles per hour, the rolling resistance of the tire trumps the aerodynamics of the tire. Okay, so above 30 miles per hour, aeroness of the tire. I've done a whole bunch of my races in my career on 20 millimeter tires. So if you're racing a course like Ironman Arizona, where you know there will be sustained parts of the course where you can travel over 30 miles per hour, I side with the Aero. If you're going slow, around 20 miles per hour, side with the wider tire, 25 millimeter tires. Continental GP 5000s are great all-around tires. The fastest rolling tires right now though happen to be the Schwalbe 1 TTs, Schwalbe Pro 1 TT tires. And now we're going to talk about the inside of your tires. So, butyl tube, standard inner tube you'd find anywhere. That's the slowest. Don't run that in your race. Next, in terms of speed, this is a Vittoria latex tube. There's lots of brands of latex tubes. They're really fast. There are some new tubes out there like Tubolitos, and I'll show you a Tubolito tire here right now. But that's what I carry as a spare. I still like latex tubes over those. And then lastly, the fastest thing you can do is actually convert your wheel from tubed to tubeless. Now, not all wheels can handle that conversion, but if you have a relatively new product, it should be able to be run tubeless. Then you can run one of the fastest tubeless tires out there, which is ultra low rolling resistance and even better flat protection than running a tube. So, butyl tube, that's bad. Latex tube, this is good. It's still fast, tubeless. That's the speed that's the speed impact that you're looking for. So those are my 5 tips on how you can make your triathlon bike faster. Thanks for tuning in and watching. I'm TJ Tollakson. See you next time.